Enormous amount of money has gone into the Harris campaign since President Biden endorsed her. Not as much as the press is reporting. A lot of these are pledges that are never going to be realized. But there are four big names, billionaires, that are pumping money like crazy into the Democratic machine. They are George and Alexander Soros. So there they are, the boys. Quinn Delaney and Reed Hastings. So the Daily Caller website has done an investigation into this. And joining us now from Encinitas, California, is reporter Robert Schmade. So everybody has heard about George Soros and somehow about his son Alexander. He's taken over the operation because George is 93. But they continue to pump tens of millions of dollars into progressive causes. They were the first to endorse Kamala Harris. So what are they up to now, Robert?
So I think it's very telling that these major donors that have bankrolled the massive transformation we saw in our criminal justice system following the death of George Floyd are now still throwing their support behind Kamala Harris. Because, Kamala is maybe, reading the tea leaves right now and seeing that that approach hasn't been the most popular with voters. You even have voters in places as liberal as San Francisco voting against these progressive prosecutors. So as these donors pour money into Kamala's campaign, I think voters should kind of pause and reflect, can they really trust Kamala when she says, hey, I'm going to be this hard-nosed, tough on crime, law and order president? I think there should be some skepticism there because these donors, when they put money into a campaign, they're expecting to get something out of it. George Soros, Alexander Soros, Quinn Delaney, all these people very involved in that effort to totally reshape our criminal justice system starting in 2020 and clearly still like Kamala. So I think voters can maybe intuit from that Kamala is aligned with these people on criminal justice. And, if you don't like what we've seen over the past 4 years with prosecutors letting out criminals, reducing sentences, refusing to try people, then maybe you should be a little bit skeptical of Kamala's claims that she's, not going to.
Can you give us the extent of the Soros infusion of money in the present presidential campaign?
It is a staggering amount. The Soroses pretty consistently are some of the largest contributors to federal elections. They do this primarily through two PACs, Democracy PAC and Democracy PAC 2. And we're talking tens of millions of dollars right now, but we really are in the early stages of the presidential election.
Okay,
so you can expect to see
they
that.
can do, and it's almost unlimited the amounts of money they can donate to these political action committees, right?
Oh, it is unlimited. Super PACs
can give
as much
whatever
money
they
as you
want.
want. Yeah.
What will the PACs use the money for? Give us a few examples.
Sure. So something to really watch out for are these voter mobilization efforts. If you look at 2020, it was like 40,000 votes across a handful of states that decided it. Probably going to be a similar situation this year. So you'll see a lot of Soros money flowing into Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, seeking to get out voters who are likely to support the Democratic Party and get them to vote in droves. From what I've seen, Republicans don't really have a good answer to this. We haven't seen comparable voter mobilization efforts on the right. So that could be a disadvantage for Republicans going into November.
All right. But specifically, the Soros money goes to pay people in counties to physically go out and either help somebody fill out a mail-in ballot or get them on a bus to take them to the poll, or if they're in a senior care, to have them sign their ballot. That's what the money's going to pay people to do that, correct?
100%. Stuff like that, stuff like voter registration, handing out pamphlets to people.
Right.
All
so
of
these people
things.
are out physically in the neighborhoods, convincing people to vote for the Democrats and doing it. I don't think there's anything illegal about that, but certainly there's a potential for some people to do it illegally, right?
Certainly. I think what you really have to look at, there are these 501c3s, which are like your typical charities, and they're not allowed to engage in partisan electioneering. However, often they'll run these voter mobilization campaigns targeted at like students or voters of color, demographics that very clearly support the Democratic Party on average. But they label it as nonpartisan, so they're entitled to taking tax-exempt donations and a bunch of other privileges that charities get. So again, is that illegal? Is it not? It's a question for a lawyer, but it certainly is,
On the
maybe not in
line, on the
spirit of the
line.
law.
So
It's
there's
on the
going to be
line,
an
certainly.
aggressive movement in Pennsylvania and the states that you mentioned to get the Democratic Party out. Now, the Republicans say they are doing, kind of the same thing, but they're concentrating more on poll watching and watching the early ballots and things like that, the mail-in ballots. Tell me about Quinn Delaney. Most people never heard of Quinn Delaney. Who is she? What's she doing?
So she is kind of one of these silent operators, and there are a lot of these in the Democratic Party pouring a bunch of money into, unsavory causes. Her big thing, she was part of this kind of group of 4 female donors in California that poured a bunch of money into progressive prosecutors across the state around 2020. In a lot of cases was successful, specifically in the cases of San Francisco and Los Angeles, Chesa Boudin and George Gascon. And, after these guys got in, they stopped prosecuting certain crimes, reduced the penalties for other crimes, and, perhaps
Okay,
predictably.
we assume that she's as far left as you, but who is she? How does she make her money? Where does she live? Let's put a picture up there, please, of her, Quinn Delaney. Who is she?
For sure. She heads this nonprofit that is focused on doing things like removing police officers from schools, countering efforts in Oakland to strengthen police. Someone
All
who's,
right, so
I think
she's an
she's very
anti-police
invested.
person, and she puts a
Yeah.
lot of money into the progressive policing and defunding the police. How did she make her money? Do you know?
I think she married rich. I believe she married a hedge fund manager, Wayne something. The name is
All right, they
escaping me,
got
but she married
divorced
that.
and
Yeah.
she got a pile of dough. Is that how it went?
Mhm. I think they're
Okay.
still married actually, but they're both big libs.
Okay, so the husband's giving her the dough.
Yeah, yeah.
Reed Hastings. Now he's a CEO of something, right?
Yeah, that's a bigger name. He co-founded Netflix, made a bunch of money doing that, and since then has been dumping money into a bunch of progressive causes. Also, another California-focused donors. A lot of the same things as Quinn Delaney: progressive prosecutors, ballot measures to weaken law enforcement. All of this.
All right, so he's a Netflix mogul, billionaire, obviously,
Hmm.
and he's very aggressive. Is he spend more money than the Soros boys? Is he at that level?
Not quite. He's spent seven. So after Kamala announced, or rather after Joe Biden dropped out and Kamala became the presumptive nominee, he donated $7 million to a pro-Harris super PAC,
Okay,
and that was his biggest single donation to date.
got it. All right, now on the Republican side, we hear about Musk giving money to the Trump PACs and a few others. Is it corresponding? Do they do the same thing?
Yeah, so a lot of the things that Republican super PACs on are the same as Democratic super PACs. Advertisements, get out the vote efforts, mailing, all of this. There's a bit of we'll have to see once the new financial campaign finance disclosures come out. But if reporting is accurate, it seems like Kamala, like you were saying earlier, has raised quite a bit of money after Biden dropped out. So that could be a disadvantage for Republicans going into
I
November
don't.
if
I
we
don't see.
can't.
I think they'll both have about as much money as they'll need to
I think,
do
yeah,
whatever they want to do. There's very wealthy people on both sides. Well, good reporting, Robert. We really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time. And if you get anything interesting, let us know right away. Okay.
for sure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
Right.
for having me. Yes.
Okay. So this is legal. Just keep that in mind. They have to file. That's how we know about Soros and all. They have to say this is where the money comes from. So the political action committees have to file and say George Soros gave us this. Okay, and that's how we know. So it's not a matter of conjecture. This is fact. So the most liberal network program of all time is The View. There has never been a program on ABC, CBS, or NBC approaching the liberalism espoused daily on The View. Ever. It's not even close. Yesterday, they talked about the outrage at the Olympic opening ceremonies, where a bunch of alternative lifestyle people mocked the Last Supper, promoting outrage around the world. However, the View ladies were not outraged. Roll the tape.
The director said it wasn't what he intended, and he also said the mission was inclusion. Intention matters. He came out and said, that wasn't what I intended. I'm sorry if that's what offended you, and this is what I was trying to do. Don't go, I get so frustrated with religion. Don't go by the literal letter of the Bible. Go by the example of the word, which is live with the grace, live with the forgiveness, live with, I was frustrated, you answer, and I'm okay with that. Yeah. I get so tired of being beaten over the head with religious messages while someone walks along their life not living like Jesus at all.
So that means if you don't live like Jesus, you can't protest anything. Now, if the Olympic opening ceremonies had a float mocking Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, do you think Ms. Haynes would have been as permissive in her forgiveness? No. No. If any minority group had been held up to disparagement in the opening ceremonies, worldwide condemnation. So we know the game. We know it. And as I reported yesterday, part of it is the fault of Catholic and Christian leadership, which is afraid. You work hard to support yourself and your family, but it may seem like you never take that next financial step forward. If the bills are higher than what you bring in, a credit card might be what's making up the difference for you. The problem is the debt keeps on growing. Well, if you own a home, my friends at American Financing can help you break that cycle. American Financing saves people like you an average of $854 a month. Even better, it costs nothing to find out how much you can save. And if you call American Financing today, you might be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. So start your journey towards being credit card debt-free. Please call 888-462-9557, 888-462-9557, or visit AmericanFinancing.net. Now, here's a very important story you know nothing about. And I'm not saying that to deride you. I didn't know anything about it until today when my producer handed me the morning news facts. Secretary of the Treasury Janet Yellen is in Brazil at a global warming climate change conference. She says to the world that something like $85 trillion is going to be needed to neutralize climate change. We're talking $1 trillion. $3 trillion a year in new capital. Okay. And that's to get zero emissions, to get electric cars, to get technology so we're not burning stuff that goes into the atmosphere. So Janet Yellen somehow knows that $3 trillion in a year, $78 trillion altogether. Now, other countries aren't going to pay this. They're not. I mean, Trump had to browbeat the NATO countries to even pay their defense shares. So you're not going to see Canada and all these liberal countries kicking big checks into some kind of worldwide fund to combat climate change. It's not going to do it. What this is being used for is to increase the size of Washington, D.C., the federal government. So the federal government, the progressives are going to say to you, we're going to save your life, but in turn, you have to give us more tax dollars, and we'll decide where those tax dollars are going to be used. So we have to save your life and the lives of all the children, but in turn, you got to pump over more money to us, the federal government, and we'll decide how that money is spent. This is what the progressive vision is. Control the economy. Control what the American people have in assets. Take from people and build a stronger government. That's what the progressive, and climate change is the best way to do that. It increases the central power. The states can't combat climate change. Has to be done out of Washington. And that's why Yellen is running around doing this. You mark my word, you keep your eye on that. Kamala Harris will be out there every 2 minutes on abortion and climate change. Okay, on climate, we got to do it. And it's going to be us, not going to be India, not going to be China, not going to be Russia, not going to be the EU. Where? But that works for the progressives because they increase their power, while your power lessens because you have less money. Smart Life. Okay, so I get a monthly report from Carfax, carfax.com. I don't know anything about cars, but Carfax is pretty good. So they tell me how much my car is worth if I want to sell it. They tell me what services are needed. So I got an oil change, tire rotation, whatever I mean, because I don't know anything about cars, okay? And they have a whole bunch of other stuff on their website, okay? They look for car listings, valuations, maintenance advice, everything. So if you want a report sent to you, it costs money. But if you just go in there and look, I think it's free, right? I'm not paying them. And I shouldn't say that. You got to put your car VIN number in there, 17-digit VIN number. And some people don't like to do that for privacy reasons. But I think this Carfax outfit is pretty good. But study it. But it's important you know about your car because it costs a fortune if you don't. This is a report from The Hill. They solicited a editorial from me, op-ed from me about the border. So it'll be interesting to see if they print it. Because you know me, I just let it fly. So I'll keep you posted on it. All right, so The Hill says that social media is now poisoning the election. So they give two examples. Trump's assassination attempt was staged. That's all over the social media. You know that. You've already seen it, I'm sure. And that Biden dropped out because he has a terminal illness. I get letters every day from very well-meaning people quoting this stuff on the internet. I just go, stop. Everything is expensive these days, you know that. The government is printing trillions of dollars and consumer prices higher than ever. If the government continues its printing and spending, the dollar could continue its free fall and lose its coveted role as the world reserve currency. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But there are a few things you can do right now. American Hartford Gold can show you how to protect your money, your retirement, your hard-earned savings against inflation by helping you diversify a portion of your portfolio into physical gold and silver. Start with a short phone call, and they can have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your 401k or IRA. So please call or text them right now. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you. Call 877-444-GOLD, 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Again, that's 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Have you ever been buried in debt, piles of overdue bills, threatening phone calls, and it just won't stop? Done with Debt is your way out. They have developed aggressive new strategies to end your debt permanently. Done with Debt tirelessly negotiates with your creditors to lower or even forgive what you owe. And they do it all without bankruptcy or new loans. Done with Debt has unique strategies to get you out of debt faster. But you need to hurry because some debt solutions are time sensitive. Visit donewithdebt.com and talk with one of their debt relief strategists for free. You have nothing to lose except your debt. Go to donewithdebt.com, donewithdebt.com. All right, here is the final thought of the day. So as some of you know, I have a home out in eastern Long Island. Beautiful. In the summer, the best place on earth, in my opinion. Just gorgeous. And nature is incredible. No pollution out there. Ocean and the Long Island Sound, clean, great fishing. This weekend, the dolphins were all over my backyard, jumping up and down. We got the whales. No sharks, by the way, because the currents where we are so strong. Sharks are out. My son caught a mako. Boy, that was something, getting that into the boat a few years ago. Anyway, so you got to eat out there and you got to eat out there in Eastern Long Island. The restaurants are insane. Insane. So I'm entering this place. I'm going to mention it, the Montauk Yacht Club. I'm looking at the menu. Roast chicken, $52. $52. Chicken. I don't even think they gave you anything with. Maybe they threw on a vegetable, but I was so up. I went, what? $52. You can imagine what steak and lobster were. The chicken is $52. So I had my producers look up the expression, a fool and his money are soon parted. It comes from 1587. In England, John Bridge wrote it down, and here is the quote. If they pay a penny or 2 pence more for the readiness of them, I don't know what them is, let them look to that a fool and his money is soon parted. And it's true. What kind of a moron, I'm sorry, I don't care how good it tastes, what kind of a moron would pay $52 for a plate of chicken? I mean, you could buy 10 chickens and put them in a coop in your backyard, I think, for $52. So it's getting out of control. The point of this is no one is forcing you to overpay for anything. And you can get fair deals. You got to look. You got to look hard. But they're out there. But a lot of wealthy people, I don't care, it's chicken, I want chicken, here's $52. No. No. Now, I have to say that restaurant was not crowded. I think people are going, you know what? We're not going. Even if you have the money, you want to set it on fire? That's what you're doing. You're taking a lighter and just burning up the cash by paying those kinds of prices. So the Montauk Yacht Club is a lovely place. I mean, right on the water, gorgeous. But you got to bring your prices down out there, or you're going out of business. I guarantee you'll go out of business. And you put a lot of money into gussying that place up. So I'm looking out for you. You got to be reasonable here. Okay, $52 is not going to cut it anywhere. Anywhere. I think I made my point. Thank you very much for watching and listening to the No Spin News. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you for watching the No Spin News. To watch the full episode anytime on BillO'Reilly.com, please sign up to become a premium or concierge member. Visit BillO'Reilly.com to sign up and start watching today.